Just when you thought you'd conquered every boss and explored every inch of the lands between, From Software throws another gauntlet your way. Hey, did you want a standalone co-op roguelike that's less about leisurely horse rides and more about surviving a 3-day death marathon? Well, there's plenty to do in Elden Ring Nightreign, let's say. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 things you need to know about Elden Ring Nightreign. So let's start off with number 10. What the hell is Nightreign? Even though it's got Elden Ring in the name, it is an entirely different beast. Nightreign is a co-op roguelike action game where you drop into a constantly shifting world as one of 8 characters, explore the world, collect loot, fight bosses, and get stronger in order to prepare yourself for the final encounter with the Night Lord at the end of your run. Each session is split into 3 days, starting during the day before transitioning into night, where the bosses start appearing around the world. Each day takes around 10 to 15 minutes to play through. You're given free reign of the world, but there's a constantly shrinking circle that limits your ability to explore as the minutes tick away. It's got the shrinking map of a battle royale, but it's important to know that this is an entirely co-op game. And at the moment, there are no PvP elements at all. It is just you and 2 other players working together or spreading out on your own to get loot and try to survive. The ultimate goal of each run is to take on the Night Lord, like I said. This dude can run roughshod over an unprepared team, so at the end of each run, whether you win or lose, you get these items called relics that persist across runs and enhance your stats and abilities so you can equip them, basically making it a randomized co-op game built off Elden Ring, but everything supercharged. The locations are more condensed, the bosses are faster to kill, you move faster, and you have a lot of new movement abilities, making getting around easier. You level up faster. It's all much more faster and much more immediate than the slow, meditative pace of Elden Ring. So what is Nightreign? Honestly, it's my ideal Elden Ring follow-up. It's a totally different beast than the standard Elden Ring, so much so that we don't even need the original game or expansion to play it. It's a totally standalone product. Moving on to number 9, this is not a live service game. If you were worried about From dipping their toes into forever games with Nightreign, worry no longer. The developer has stated Nightreign is not a live service game, flat out. It is not free to play. It's your standard premium standalone game where you just buy it and that's it. There's no battle pass, no microtransactions of any kind. I mean, outside of the usual deluxe edition stuff. There's no in-game purchases or currency. There is a persistent kind of money you get in the game called Merc that's used for buying cosmetics and emotes and stuff like that, but that is earned entirely in-game and there's no way to buy this stuff. I will note, From has never given us any real reason not to trust them, but there have been more than a few games that started out this way and premium currency was added later. Just saying. Still, from what we know, everything planned, including any expansions, come included in the deluxe edition version, and that's it. Depending on what type of player you are, this all might sound like a breath of fresh air, or it might sound like a game that has an expiration date because the developers have made it clear they're not going to be supporting this game forever. They'll update it with whatever content they have planned, and that's probably going to be all it gets. And number 8, there are new and returning bosses. This is a Souls game after all, so the bosses are once again a major focus. Most of the fights, from what I've seen in the network test, are returning bosses from Elden Ring. Sometimes they get more generic names, but they're otherwise the same. That's the majority of the normal fights in Nightreign, at least. There are some guest bosses here that are pretty surprising, though. They actually brought back fights from the Dark Souls games, and not just from one game. They've got guys from the entire series here. There's a centipede demon from Dark Souls 1, Duke's Dear Freya from Dark Souls 2, you know, the giant spider boss, and the Nameless King from Dark Souls 3, which is one of the most challenging bosses in that game. So these are some pretty fun additions, I'd say. Just don't think too hard about the lore implications or anything. I'm pretty sure they threw these guys in here for fun. It's a roguelike. I don't know if this is all canon, and I don't want to try to figure it out, honestly. But along with a whole lot of returns, there are some honest-to-goodness new bosses as well. The actual Night Lords themselves are all new bosses, and there are 8 of them in total. At the start of each run, you decide which Night Lord to go after at the round table hold, so you can better prepare during the run for what you're going to need to face them, because you only have one shot at beating them. If the team gets wiped, it's game over. So going into these fights, you have to be as prepared as possible. That has to be your number one priority. They do look like real highlight fights. They look look tough as hell. They've got some pretty gnarly designs that are reminiscent of older bosses, like this freaky-looking dragon with the split mouth and the gaping dragon, but the actual fights themselves look completely new. At number 7, everything's randomized. In Nightreign, you drop along with 2 other players into the land of Limwald using a spectral hawk, which functions like a kind of glider when you're dropping in a fortnight. From there, you can decide where you're dropping, whether you want to stick with your team or split up. It's up to you. Each time you begin a run, the map of the area is randomized. You're always dropping into this one place that looks like the starting area from Elden Ring, but the map can change drastically depending on the layout and environmental effects. It's not just that the map changes at the start of each run, it also changes and evolves as you're playing it with these random events that can totally upend the whole thing. Stuff like meteor strikes, they can leave giant craters, volcanoes can erupt and create lava-filled fissures, poisonous forests might pop up where there was nothing before, strangle cosmic effects might engulf a location. There can be a lot that changes, both between runs and during them. Not only that, the location and strength of weapons can be randomized as well, so you never really know what you're going to get. This is all designed to add replayability to the game, but it's yet to be seen just how random things can get. Does the map start to get samey and repetitive after a while? Does all this randomization actually work? We'll have to wait and see, because honestly, could go either way. Once we've got our hands on the final version, we'll be able to say more, but yeah. Moving on to 6, Nightreign can be played solo. While the developers have made it pretty clear Nightreign is primarily a co-op game, they did make it possible to play solo. Playing by yourself is an option, and the game reduces enemy scaling to accommodate, so it's not impossible to win with just one player. So if you can't handle having a few other players around to help you, solo is available to you. The co-op mechanics are still pretty simplified. Players communicate mostly through gestures and emotes. There's no voice support, so essentially the same thing as Elden Ring co-op, just with all the limits removed. And to make things 100% clear, the game in its current state has no PvP at all, and there are no plans to add it that we are aware of or that they have made known. There could be plans to add it. At the moment, it seems like there isn't. And since we're talking about co-op mechanics here, one thing that's good to know is that basic items are shared between all the players. Certain unique pieces aren't, so there is an incentive to get the final blow, but yeah. Finally, I don't know where I'll get a chance to mention this anywhere else, but dying in this game can actually make things more challenging for the other players. Not the other people on your team, like just that. No, I mean like other players, like in different runs. Failing a run in Nightreign can potentially cause red phantoms to spawn in other people's games, which are tough enemies that drop powerful loot. So it's almost like a super simplified version of the world tendency stuff from Demon's Souls. I don't know to what extent, could be very light, but it's not dissimilar. And number 5, this is Elden Ring on steroids. I mentioned the game is a lot faster than your average Elden Ring, but there's more to it. They've modified and altered a lot of the existing systems to make it more streamlined, increase the pace, and while they all sound like minor changes individually, all taken together, Nightreign becomes almost unrecognizable. Starting off, you get a super fast sprint that's just as fast as Torrent. You can double jump. You can run up walls, and they even included vaulting, so climbing is way easier. Spirit springs are gone because no torrent. They've been replaced with spirit streams that do basically the same thing, but with no mount required. Fall damage completely eliminated as well. You can retrieve your spectral hawk at special spirit trees too, so if you need to get around faster, there is an option. All that and attacking and movement in general has been made more responsive and faster. Everything in Nightreign is sped up to match the game's more manic pace, and it comes together to feel pretty unique for a From game. I don't know, there's elements I feel of Bloodborne or Sekiro, but it's not quite either of those things. There's something different here. Moving on to number 4, instead of traditional character customization, there is 8 heroes. This is kind of a big one. Instead of creating your own unique character, Nightreign has you pick from 8 pre-built ones with their own starting equipment, passive abilities, active abilities, and ultimates. Might sound disappointing, but these guys are pretty unique from one another. They all have their own strengths and weaknesses, and clearly it's built around making a team. Some of these guys have some pretty wild abilities too. Even the most basic guy, the Wilder, who's your basic all-around knight, he's got a grappling hook that he can use to pull weaker enemies or yank himself over to tougher ones. He can also use the grapple to get around, and his ultimate transforms it into an arm cannon that does extreme damage. The Duchess is also one of the most interesting classes revealed so far. She can move quickly and turn herself and her allies invisible to reposition and get in free backstabs, but one of the most interesting aspects of her is the restage, which rewinds time to make it so any damage an enemy received in the last 5 seconds, they'll get hit with that again. And it's just crazy powerful. It's stuff that makes all these classes like actually legitimately interesting. They all have wildly different strengths that would make them overpowered in the original Elden Ring, but you need all this stuff to quickly clear out bosses in Nightreign because you're always on the clock. Each hero seems to fit a different playstyle. Like there's a heavy shield guy, a ranged magic user, an archer, a revenant that relies on spirit ashes, and a secret 8th class that we know is the Executor, a samurai style guy who's all about parrying. Moving on to number 3, there is kind of a persistent story. Really want to emphasize kind of. You might think there's nothing much to the game beyond doing runs, but there is a story. Each hero has their own story to follow that slowly unlocks as you play as them. They all recover these things called fragments of memories, which adds background and context to who they are and what they're fighting. Viewing these memories unlocks new conversations that the round table hold, and sometimes adds new objectives to complete while you're out on runs. So they're essentially like side quests from Elden Ring, just incorporated into the hero characters instead of NPCs. I don't know how interesting or fleshed out they're going to be, but at least they are giving you something to do between runs. And number 2 is there's big inventory changes. We are getting into the nitty-gritty here. The inventory in Nightreign has been significantly simplified to make it easier to navigate in the middle of a run. Loot, in general, is simpler. Weapons no longer have weight penalties and stat requirements. The only thing that can limit you at times is that certain items might have level requirements. Items and gear are now color-rated based on rarity, with rarer stuff generally being better. Items on the ground now actually show you what they are before you pick them up. They're not just generic glowing white balls. They actually at least indicate what type of item you're picking up. There's 6 weapon slots, so up to 3 weapons can be equipped on each hand, 2 talisman slots, 4 tool slots. Along with weapons and items, you now get lootable skills and upgrades and stat buffs. So overall loot is just a little more important. Well, actually a lot more important in Nightreign. It's less situational, and a lot more of it just gives you straight up upgrades. There are nomadic merchant spirits who sell stuff during excursions, and a separate currency known as Merc, which you can use to buy cosmetics, emotes, and also relics. Everything you buy with Merc is persistent, while everything disappears at the end of a run. So items are both essential and fleeting in Nightreign, so use it before you lose it. Overall, inventory management's a lot more streamlined here, and it's 100% the right call. In standard Elden Ring, you could have spent an entire run in Nightreign just trying to sort through the junk in your inventory. There's just no way they'd be able to keep that inventory system as is and try to make a fast-paced multiplayer game. Like, it just could not have worked, period. And finally, at number 1, the release date and everything else. Nightreign is releasing May 30th for just $39.99 for the base version. There are deluxe versions. They're selling for $54.99. Obviously, it's nice that the deluxe version is not even $60, but they're pretty vague about what the DLC is. The deluxe version includes the DLC, but all the descriptions just say additional DLC, so we don't really know exactly what that is. Well, we do know we're getting more playable characters and bosses, but beyond that, I don't even know how much the DLC is going to cost when it comes out sometime later in the year, and what you'll get outside of new characters and some encounters probably. I don't know. I just don't know. So that's Nightreign. It's kind of a weird but fascinating experiment. It's not going to be for everyone who is a fan of Elden Ring. It's in many ways a huge departure from that game, but it still looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. And everyone who's gotten a chance to play the game has mostly really positive things to say about it. So it's definitely a game to look out for, even if co-op roguelike PvE isn't something you'd normally jive with. From has yet to steer us wrong so far, though. So hopefully this keeps being just as fun as it looks when it releases at the end of the month. I'm for sure playing it. Like, as I've gotten older, come to value the shorter experiences more. And this type of a game sounds very much like something I'd be interested in, especially to jump back into the world of Elden Ring with. But what about you? Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter and book me on Cameo at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.